Hello guys, welcome to the next video in the PyQt series. In this video we're going to go over table widgets. Alright, so first up, let's open up your designer. I'm going to create a widget class. And let's grab a table widget. And let's do two buttons. For this illustration we'll do a delete row. And we can do an add row as well. Okay, let's add this to a grid layout. And there you go, that should be sufficient for our purposes. Let's save this. I'm going to save it under QTableWidget. And let's call this table.ui. Let's prefix that with view, and there we go. Okay, let's go to our folder. I'm quickly going to do the conversion. So if you like, you can skip ahead. So let's create our batch file. I first need to put something in there before I can run it. So Python use interface convert 5. We're going to do the target file is going to be the UI, and the output is going to be a py Python widget file. Let's put a space in there. Click save. Let's run that batch file. Alright, let's open up a new Python project to this location. File, new project. Existing interpreter is fine. Open in a new window. Right, let's quickly run our view, see that's everything's alright. Okay, and there's your view up and running. Let's create a controller class. Again, if you're jumping in the middle of a series, I would advise that you start from the earlier videos where I go into depth on creating all the files, the controllers and the views. So let's create a controller table. And I'm going to call this .py. Let's open that and let's quickly type the skeleton. So from PyQt 5 import QTableWidget. Let's import the view. And let's create a controller class. I'm just going to control the controller table. Inherit from QTWidget.QWidget. And let's define init. Parent equals none. Let's call QTableWidget's constructor. And we're going to pass the self parameter and the parent. Let's set up the user interface. And this is going to be the view.ui form. So create a class, an instance of a class. Let's run a method of the view. And let's make this file executable. If name equals main, create an app, Q application, and I should import that. And also I forgot self there. Import system, and let's say system.argument value. Create a controller class, so we're going to say controller table, and we're going to show that. And then we need the system.exit and app execute. And there's a typo. Okay, let's quickly test this. Alright, there we are. So we got the skeleton for our program. And let's start by implementing, let's start first by populating the table with data. Alright, first off, we're going to create a list. And we're going to put that list, all the data into that list. So let's call this self.data list. And we're going to declare that as a list. And let's add data to that list. Data list dot append. Alright, so to this list we're going to append an additional list because a table is a two-dimensional list. So first let's put in there, let's start off with a name, Peter, and a surname, Ben, and let's just give this some random number. Alright, I'm gonna create 3 or 4 more entries. Alright, there I added a few entries and I updated them, so you can imagine this is an ID or some sort of number you need to store for each person. Alright, next up we want to insert empty items for every item in the table, and then we're going to fill those items with data. So let's start off by inserting rows for each row in our data list. So I'm going to start with 4 each row in bracket self.data list. For each row in the data list, we're gonna have our self user interface dot table widget dot insert a row, and it's gonna do this at position 0. So for each row in our data list, we're gonna enter a blank row in the table. Next up, let's go through the columns. So for each column in our data list, and I'm going to take the first item of that data list and insert a column, self.ui dot table widget dot insert column at position 0. So for every item in our first row, we're going to enter a column. So there's our first row, so there should be 3 columns. So if we run this, I'm missing a curl on there. Let's run this again. Alright, and there you go. So there is all our columns. There's 4 rows and 3 columns. Alright, let's proceed to entering the data. So for this, I'm going to use a 2-dimensional loop, and I'm going to make use of the enumerate function. So what the enumerate function does is it returns an iterator or a counter for every item in a loop. So the easiest way is going to show you an example. Right, so we're going to start off with a for loop. So for every row number, first it's going to return the row number, then it's going to return the row value in enumerate and our self.data list. So for every value in the data list, we're going to get 2 variables. First is going to be the row number or the index, and the second value is going to be the row value. If you could take a look at the loop at the top here, so the row value and the row here are the same thing. The only thing extra now is the row number, and we get the row number by using this enumerate keyword. Alright, so first thing is we're gonna traverse or loop through the row values, and then we need to go through the columns. So for every item, I'm going to say item number and item value in enumerate self.data list. Oh, sorry, this should not be the data list, but instead this should be the row itself, the row value. So for each column in every row, we want to traverse it. So let's print that out so we can get a better idea of how that will look. So I'm going to do a normal print statement. And let's start with the row number, the item or column number, and then let's do the data list value for each of those. So it's going to be a two-dimensional list, and we're going to first place the row number and secondly the column or the item number. So let's run that. Alright, once it's run, you can see the output. So there is the first parameter is the row number, that's row 0. And row 0 got 0, 1 and 2, it got 3 columns. So that is that entry. Okay, the last thing you want to do now is this data needs to go into the table. And we do that by making use of a set item method on this table. So let's type self.userInterface.tablewidget.setItem. The set item takes 3 parameters or 3 variables. The first of which is going to be the row number. This is why I use enumerate in the above 2 loops so that we can get the row number. And the second item is going to be the item number or the column number. And last but not least, we need the data. So we're going to do self.datalist, and we're going to get first the row number here and the item number in the second block. Alright, so that should populate our table. Let's run it. And I forgot to convert this to a QTableWidget item. So this is right. Currently it is the program sees it as a string, so we need to type QTableWidget QTableWidget item. So we can just do an explicit conversion, and let's see if that runs now. And there you go. There's the table and everything is populated. So the last thing we want to do is we want to implement these 2 buttons at the bottom. We want to delete rows and we want to add a blank new row. Alright, so I'm going to start off by connecting these 2 buttons clicked actions. So let's go to the constructor or init methods, and we start with self.userInterface. I didn't give these buttons proper names, so we're going to do push button 0 and push button 2. On second thought, I'm going to quickly rename those buttons to be more logical. Alright, so I renamed the buttons to button delete and button add. It's always a good idea to give your buttons logical names and prevent confusion further on. So let's start with the delete button and connect its clicked method. Connect, and we're going to need that to a method we're going to write now and call it, let's just call it delete. Alright, and while we're at it, let's connect the second button. Button add dot clicked, and we're going to connect this to a method called add. Alright, finally we're going to implement these two methods. So let's implement delete. And we're going to need a method called add. Alright, to implement delete but methods, we first gonna go to the self.QTableWidget dot remove row, and then we need the row to remove, the row index. So we're gonna say self.usingInterface.TableWidget.current row. So this will basically delete the current row, the selected row. Next up, the add method. So here we're going to say self.usingInterface.TableWidget.addRow, insert row, and here we can insert it at the bottom of the table. So to do that, we need a row count. So let's go to self.ui.tablewidget.row count, and that should enter a blank row at the end of a table. Okay, let's run this program and test our buttons. Just make it a bit larger. Let's add a row, and there is a row inserted at the end of a table, and we can remove it as well. Alright, this concludes our lesson on table widgets. I hope you found this series so far informative and useful.